If you want to go fishing and you don't have the time, come along with me, it's Hook on the Fly.
What's up, y'all? Jordan Hook here from Hook on the Fly, and today we have part 3 of our Getting Geared Up series, and it's all about the flies. Alright, y'all, so here are the flies that I selected. We have a mix of wet flies and dry flies. Have some terrestrials as well as some traditional flies, and I'm just going to kind of point these out real quick and just give you a quick overview. Again, this is totally subjective. This is just what I think is great to have around for the waters that I fish, and you'll probably find these in most everybody's fly box, even if it's not their personal go-to. But pretty much what you're trying to do is mimic a real life insect with your fly. And to do that, you need to match 3 things. You need to match the shape, you need to match the color, you need to match the size of whatever it is. So some of these flies don't mimic one specific thing necessarily. They just match a lot of things that a fly might be eating, because sometimes there's a lot of different bugs in the water, and some of them are very specific, like the ant or like the grasshopper. So the most important thing is go to your local fly shop, ask them what's biting in the waters where you're going to be fishing, and that'll give you a good idea of what flies you need to get. But this is just my list of ones that I think you should definitely have. But we're going to start off with the nymphs, because you'll probably be nymphing before you're dry fly fishing, since trout eat most of their food, around 90%, underwater. So you definitely want to have some nymphs. And at the top right here, right there, we have what's called a prince nymph. And I don't know if you can see it, but it's kind of like a mayfly nymph there. Next to that, we have what's called a hare's ear nymph. And the hare's ear is just one of my favorites. You should definitely have a lot of these hare's ear nymphs because they are just absolutely killer. And for each one of these nymphs that I'm showing you, get them in multiple sizes. That's one thing that's important, 'cause you don't know what size the bugs that are hatching necessarily are at all times. You can look up rocks and find them, but get these in several sizes. The next one down, this one's called a zebra midge, and you can get those in black or red. I would definitely suggest going on the smaller side, your 18s. I use 20s. Then we got a little Brassie on the end to round it out. So that's the rundown of nymphs. We're going to drop down. I guess this is a nymph. This is called a rubber legs right here. It can mimic a lot of different things, but stonefly nymph is kind of what I use it for around here. So that will sink on the water and just bounce along the bottom and look super buggy. So I like having one of those, especially brown trout seem to love them around here. So next to him, we have what's called a Juan Worm. That can mimic chironomid larvae, the little bloodworm looking things, or it could mimic a real worm. Like during runoff season, which we have now, banks get knocked down and real earthworms get washed into the water. So it could actually mimic a real earthworm, but I would definitely have the Juan Worm in there. So now let's move on to top water stuff. We're going to start with the terrestrials. Terrestrials are any bugs that are not flies that have their natural cycle start them off living underwater and then emerge, live above the water through metamorphosis and turn into flies. So terrestrials are things like, think of it like anything that might get blown into the water, like a grasshopper or an ant or beetle or something like that. So the first two I have here, I've got Dave's hopper right up front. Have a good grasshopper with you. I like Dave's. They're simple, easy, and they seem to work everywhere in the West. And then this one specifically, the ant. Definitely have an ant. I'm definitely a convert on these guys. They work really well in mountains, which is where I fish a lot, but you find ants everywhere, and trout everywhere are just used to eating them. So get a couple ants if you can, because like I said, you can find them everywhere. They're super simple at lakes and rivers and just very effective overall. So let's actually move up to the dry flies. At the top, I just have a Elk Hair Caddis there. That's another standard. You just need a caddis fly. It can also mimic other things like little moths and stuff like that, so it's good to have. Next to there we have the Parachute Adams, probably the most classic dry fly, maybe next to the Royal Wolf. So they just mimic a lot of different bugs and are very, very effective. Then I've got a P.M.D here, Pale Morning Dun, for any kind of light colored flies that may be bouncing around. And then the Blue Wing Olive. I love this fly right here, B.W.O or Blue Wing Olive. Is another standard to have. So between those 4 dry flies and like I said, in various sizes, I think you can do pretty well on most waters. And again, this is my very, very subjective list, but if you're heading out on the water for the first time and you have these flies in your box in several different sizes and maybe a couple of different colors, like a black zebra midge with some red ones, or some other colored copper johns too, you'll be pretty good. I'm pretty confident. So yeah, I hope that helped, guys. And this is only the first part. The next part, you're going to need to put some accessories to it. So I'm going to cover that in video number 4. You need things like floating to help your dry flies float, and sinkers to help your nymphs sink, and indicators to let you know when you're getting a bite. So we'll cover all of that in video number 4 on accessories.
Questions? Comments? Think I'm full of crap? Tell me about it in the comments below, but be sure to subscribe first.